Welcome to Herd Mentality, a podcast from StoneX where we discuss global dairy markets and what's driving them. Remember that the trading of derivatives such as futures, options, and over-the-counter products or swaps may not be suitable for all investors. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss, and past results are not necessarily indicative of future results. I'm recording this on Friday, January 10th. I don't have a guest with me today because our team has been very busy with a number of different things that are happening around the world. I think for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to have some good topics lined up. Just today, there was a case of foot and mouth disease detected in Germany. So there's concerns about it. Right now, our take is it's probably not a big impact, but there's always the potential that that virus has spread and will be a significant impact on the dairy markets like it was in the UK back in 2001. But I think I'm going to try to get somebody from one of our European offices to talk about the foot and mouth outbreak. I don't know, can't call it an outbreak yet. Foot and mouth disease in Germany next week. And then Yifan Li, my colleague out of the Singapore office, spent this week in China. Next week he's going to be in Southeast Asia. So the week after that, I plan to talk to him about what he's hearing around China and Southeast Asia. In terms of the markets, prices have started 2025 stronger than expected. And I think we have to mostly chalk it up to the demand side because the supply side has been pretty mixed, or at least perceptions of the supply side have been mixed. During December, New Zealand got hot and dry. The pasture growth index was running way below year-ago levels, way below average. It was starting to look a little bit dire. But in the past week here, there's been some rains. The pasture growth index has rebounded nicely, and I'm less concerned about weather in New Zealand. But despite those poor weather conditions in December, the GDT prices were declining throughout December. We had an auction this week. The expectation was the prices were going to be down 3 to 4%. Instead, they were only down 1.4%. So GDT was down this week, but not down as much as expected. And it's a little bit odd to see the prices dropping when there's some mild concerns about the supply side. So it tells us it's probably, the price action is probably more driven by demand than supply. At least it has been over the past 6 weeks for Oceania. And certainly you could say the same about the U.S. cheese market. We saw U.S. cheese blocks drop from $2.20 a pound in late September to the high $60s in early December. And there was questions whether that was coming from the supply side, whether it's coming from the demand side. Is it new cheese plants that are ramping up and putting a lot of extra fresh cheese onto the market? Now with the November data, we can see that it was a demand-driven drop in U.S. cheese prices. We had seen mild growth in domestic demand for cheese in the third quarter, and then into third quarter and into October. And then in November, domestic disappearance was down 2% from year-ago levels, and the exports were a little bit weaker than expected as well. So the action that we've seen in cheese, at least in October and into November, was driven by the demand side. We have seen U.S. cheese prices rally, getting back up into the low $90s late December, early January. And my guess is that the demand has bounced back a little bit, and that's helped to push those prices higher. In Europe, at the start of the year here, we've seen prices for most products strengthen. I think skim milk powder's been more flat than up, but we've seen a bounce for butter. We've seen a really good bounce for mozzarella, although mozzarella dropped by quite a bit back in December. So it has a little bit more room to bounce back than some of the other cheeses. And I guess let me circle back on the U.S. So the cheese price has been driven by demand. I will say that the supply side is looking a little bit weaker than expected for the U.S. The bird flu in California had a much bigger impact than expected during November, pushing California's production down by more than 9%. Talking with people in the markets, it's sounding like production is improving a bit, or it did improve during December, but not all that much. We're probably still talking about California's milk production being down in the range of 5 to 7% from last year during December. So that weak rebound from bird flu in California is tightening the U.S. milk supply outlook. They are improving. Production in the rest of the country is probably up, but that December headline milk production numbers probably still going to be negative, and January might only be slightly positive, something like 0.5%, depending on how quickly California can bounce back. Now, like I said, European dairy prices have bounced higher in the past week. And at the same time, the European milk production data has been looking pretty good. We just got Irish production data for December. They were up over 33% from a year ago. They're lapping over really poor weather last year. So we were looking for a rebound in Irish production, but at least that December number was a lot higher than expected. It's looking like on a component adjusted basis, European production, I said December. I think that's a November number for Ireland, that the November collections for Europe on a component adjusted basis are probably going to be up about 2% from last year, which is similar growth to what we saw in October, which was also up about 2%. So the supply side, if we ignore the recent foot and mouth disease, the supply side for Europe is looking pretty good, with October, November coming in better than expected. And yet we're seeing prices since the start of the year bouncing higher. So I think we have to chalk that up to the demand side as well. As I said, foot and mouth detected here today, Friday, January 10th. Could have a big impact, could have no impact. We'll know a little bit more next week, and I hope to dive into that topic on the podcast next week. If you haven't already, registration for our conference in Nashville, Tennessee in early March is still open. I believe the early bird pricing is still available, and it's going to be a great conference. I'm excited about the topics that we're going to be covering. We thought about what questions our customers have been asking us. How is inflation affecting margins for dairy farmers? What impact does the shift in breeding, crossbreeding dairy and beef having on dairy farmer margins and having on the supply of replacement heifers for dairy farms? What impact or what do we know about bird flu? It's continuously changing, but we're going to have someone speaking about bird flu and the impact at the farm level. There's going to be other topics, outlook, panel discussions, and it's a conference that covers multiple commodities. So there'll be grain outlook, livestock, interest rates, macroeconomy. I'm really looking forward to the conference, and I would encourage you to attend if you're available. The StoneX Dairy team spans the U.S., EU, Asia, and Oceania, providing market intelligence, analysis, and forecasts through our interactive data platform called StoneX Plus, as well as full-service brokerage on the major dairy exchanges, the CME, EEX, and SGX. If you're interested in finding out more about our market intelligence or brokerage services, you can find more information on stonex.com.
This communication is issued in the European Economic Area by StoneX Financial Europe SA, SFE by the SFE presenters noted. StoneX is the trade name used by StoneX Group Inc. and all its associated entities and subsidiaries. StoneX Group Inc. companies provide financial services worldwide through its subsidiaries, including physical commodities, securities, exchange-traded and over-the-counter, under derivatives, risk management, global payments, and foreign exchange products in accordance with applicable law in the jurisdictions where services are provided. References to certain over-the-counter products or swaps are made on behalf of StoneX Markets, LLC SXM, a member of the National Futures Association NFA and provisionally registered with the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission CFTC as a swap dealer. SXM products are designed only for individuals or firms who qualify under CFTC rules as an eligible contract participant ACPAT and who have been accepted as customers of SXM. Wealth management is offered through SA Stone Wealth Management Inc., member FINRA/SIPC, and SA Stone Investment Advisors Inc., and SEC Registered Investment Advisor, both wholly owned subsidiaries of StoneX Group Inc. StoneX Financial Limited SFL is registered in England and Wales. Company No. 5,616,500. 486. SFL is authorized and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority registration number FRN 446717 to provide to professional and eligible customers including arrangement, execution and, where required, clearing derivative transactions in exchange-traded futures and options. SFL is also authorized to engage in the arrangement and execution of transactions in certain OTC products, certain securities trading, precious metals trading and payment services to eligible customers. SFL is authorized regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority under the Payment Services Regulations 2017 for the provision of payment services. SFL is a Category 1 ring dealing member of the London Metal Exchange. In addition, SFL also engages in other physically delivered commodities business and other general business activities which are unregulated and not required to be authorized by the Financial Conduct Authority. StoneX Financial Europe SA. SFE is a securities trading firm registered in the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg under Company No. RC Lux B 10821. SFE is authorized by the Luxembourg Ministry of Finance and regulated by the Commission de Surveillance du Secteur Financier Registration No. P00000-012 to carry out, inter alia, the activities of investment advisor, portfolio manager, professional acting on own account, broker in financial instruments, and commission agent. StoneX Financial Pte Ltd Co. Reg. No. 2011305988R SFP is regulated by the Monetary Authority of Singapore and is a capital market service licensee for dealing in capital market products, an exempt financial advisor for advising on investment products and issuing or promulgating analyses/reports on investment products, and a major payment institution for cross-border money transfer service. StoneX Financial HK Limited C.No. BCQ 152 SHK is regulated by the Hong Kong Securities and Futures Commission for dealing in futures contracts. StoneX Group Inc. acts as agent for SFL in New York with respect to its payment services business. StoneX Financial Thai Limited SFA Akin 141774727 holds an Australian financial service license and is regulated by the Australian Securities and Investments Commission AFSL 345646. StoneX Securities Co. Limited SSJ Co. Reg. No. 010401047199 is regulated by the Japanese Financial Services Agency as a Type I financial instruments business operator. Kanto Local Finance Bureau FIBO No. 291 is a member of the Financial Futures Association of Japan for dealing and broking FX and FX option transactions, and is a member of the Japan Securities Dealers Association for dealing and broking stock indices and option transactions. The information herein is not a recommendation to trade nor investment research or an offer to buy or sell any financial product. It does not take into account your particular investment objectives, financial situation, or needs, and does not create a binding obligation on any of the StoneX Group Inc. of companies to enter into any transaction with you. You are advised to perform an independent investigation of any transaction to determine whether any transaction is suitable for you. This material should be construed as the solicitation of an account, order, and/or services provided by the FCM division of StoneX Financial Inc., SFI NFAID 0476094 or StoneX Markets LLC SXM NFAID 0449652 and represents the opinions and viewpoints of the individual authors or presenters and does not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of SFI or SXM. It does not constitute an individualized recommendation or take into account the particular trading objectives, financial situations, or needs of individual customers. Additionally, this material should not be construed as research material. The trading of derivatives such as futures, options, and over-the-counter OC products or swaps may not be suitable for all investors. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss, and you should fully understand the risks prior to trading. Past results are not necessarily indicative of future results. All references to and discussion of OTC products or swaps are made solely on behalf of SXM. All references to futures and options on futures trading are made solely on behalf of SFI. SXM products are intended to be traded only by individuals or firms who qualify under CFTC rules as an eligible contract participant ACPA and who have been accepted as customers of SXM. SFI and SXM are not responsible for any redistribution of this material by third parties or any trading decisions taken by persons not intended to view this material. Information contained herein was obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but is not guaranteed as to its accuracy. Contact designated personnel from SFI or SXM for specific trading advice to meet your trading preferences. SFP may distribute analysis/report produced by its respective foreign affiliates within the StoneX Group of companies pursuant to an arrangement under Regulation 32C of the Financial Advisors Regulations. Recipients should contact SFP at 656-309-1000 for any matters arising from or in connection with this podcast. No part of this material may be copied or duplicated in any form by any means or redistributed without the prior written consent of StoneX Group Inc. The podcast herein is not directed to or intended for distribution to or use by any person or entity who is a citizen or resident of or located in any locality, state, country, or other jurisdiction where such distribution, publication, availability, or use would be contrary to law or regulation. Copyright 2024 StoneX Group Inc. All rights reserved.